Hey guys, so I have a fun card for us today. It's simple in design, but I also think it has a nice impact because the paper essentially makes the whole thing. So the paper pieces we're going to use are, so we've got our basic card base, which is 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. And this is Misty Moonlight. We're using this. And we're using 4 inches by 5 1/4 of the shaded spruce. And then this piece here was a little tricky to cut because, let me see if I can grab, oh, I don't think I have any others that have the Starburst. That's from the Full of Life paper. And so I think I used all the ones that I had. So this paper had the Starburst in the center originally. Like this square set is here in the perfectly centered and even. Well, the Starburst was perfectly centered right here. So to cut this piece, you really had to cut around. And so there's a lot of scrappies, you know, like scrappy pieces for the extra outside. Oh, that's not one. There we go. See, look, I had several scraps to cut this piece out. I know this is 6 by 6 and I know this is 4 inches, right? This piece is 4 inches. So what I did was I cut off 1 inch from this side and 1 inch from that side. And that's how I got that part done. And this is 5 1/4 inches long, right? And I need this circle to stay in the center. So I had to cut, it looks like I cut 1/2 inch off each side. Okay, so that'll help you when you're cutting these pieces. And so, but it's from the Full of Life paper. I didn't mind doing it because I wasn't using some of this paper. And honestly, it has such a great impact. I don't mind wasting a little paper, and it's never wasted. You know, I find a way to use it later. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll see me use scraps in all kinds of ways. So all we're going to do is we're going to glue our layer down. I just felt like this was a very classic. I kind of wish it was white and red, you know, because it's very indicative of the, Starburst kind of thing that they have when they intro some of the short films, you know, way back in the day where it would have Mickey's head in the center. So it reminds me a lot of that. Let's see, I think I want the green. And this is shaded spruce here, so that's why I chose the green, shaded green right there. And we're just going to glue this down. Really, really basic layers, not complicated layers. And I think I have a scrap even. Hold on, I think I have a scrap for, there they are. I have a scrap for the inside. I was like, I know I cut a scrap for the inside. So hold on, let's get this down. Oops, I almost let it dry and I hadn't had it centered. All right, got that down, perfect. Now we need our white layer on the inside. So we're just gonna grab some white. Again, 4 1/4 by 4 inches by 5 1/4, I mean. So 4 inches by 5 1/4. And we're going to glue this. This is just an edged piece. You know, when I was cutting, this edge piece came from, it looks like it came from over here or something. Yeah, it must have come on the other piece I was cutting. I cut a few of these pieces. So I cut 3 of them. So this, I must have cut this piece a little differently, but it still had the same, what's it called? The same effect, you know. And I don't know if it's even totally perfectly centered. As I look really close, it might not be perfectly centered, but I think that we'll make it work, you know. So, all right, let's go ahead and glue this down. So I'm glad I went and showed you that because it is tricky to cut paper that has a really obvious print on it. It's easy to cut paper when you don't really care where the print lands, but when you need the print to land in a certain spot, it can be tricky and difficult to do. I think on this one I did a little bit better job in making it even. On this one, this side I think is a little bit longer than this side, but yeah, You see, like this looks pretty centered. This one I think is a little to the right, but watch what we're going to do to cover that up. So we're going to take the, I had some green paper. So we're going to cut out 2 ears, and we're going to cut out a Mickey head, and we're going to glue them together, and we're going to use that to cover the center. And that's actually going to be very forgiving because we're covering the center. That actually helps us kind of cover up that little mistake that it's not totally centered. It doesn't take away the mistake, but it draws your eye away from this mistake, if that makes sense. And sorry for the gloves. I'm freezing here in San Antonio still. I mean, so whenever you see this film, you'll know it's either, if it's not during the week, I filmed it during the week. We had all the cold weather. It was 24 degrees this morning when I woke up. So the key to putting these little, this is a 1-inch punch and a 3/4 inch punch. That 1/4 inch difference seems to be like just the right amount. Now, you got to be careful because if you push the ears too far in, it'll look like Pooh Bear's head. And if you keep the ears too far apart, it'll look weird too. So it's just trying to find the right balance till it looks like just the right hidden Mickey look or silhouette look. There we go. All right, just the right look. All right, there we go. All right, so that's good. And we're done with that. We've glued everything down. So the only thing we need to do is add our dimensionals and pop him on the front. So when I add the dimensionals to these little silhouette heads, to make sure the ears don't slide down or move, I tend to put a dimensional right across the seam, and that helps. And it's kind of excessive to put them right here on the ears, but I'm doing it anyway. So it just helps make sure those little ears don't fall down, but also, you know, this extra piece does help it keep from smushing down. All right, so now when we go to center it, we can center it on the card, and it will, we can center it where it's gonna kind of draw your eye away. So let's see. Okay, that one is, oh. Nope, a little to the left here. All right, and I think that looks centered. We're done. There's our card. That's it. That's our card. Very simple, very easy, nothing too complicated. Just a simple, fun card, but it has a pretty cool impact. You know, I didn't add any embellishments. I didn't add anything fancy, just our designer paper. And I think that's enough, you know, it's pretty cool. So I think it's a fun card. Definitely has a good impact. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to comment, like, share, all the things. Full of Life paper was on clearance a few years ago. If you can't find it, be sure to check out some of my friends on Whatnot. I have Darlene Walker, Lisa Ray. There's also the Papered Chef. They have some great Stampin' Up! Paper, retired Stampin' Up! Paper on their Whatnot shops, and you can find it there. So thanks for tuning in, you guys, and I appreciate you, and I hope you have an excellent day. Thanks.